We don't want foreign actors engaging in subterfuge and subversion of our government such that it's now being run effectively by the donor class. That can't go on.
This is Kaiser Johnson with Liberty and Finance, and these are the Miles Franklin Weekly Specials for January 19th through January 26th, 2026, while supplies last. First this week, 1 10th-ounce gold maples are just $65 over melt per coin. Next, 1-ounce silver maple leafs 2026 are $7.99 over spot per ounce. And finally, 90% US half dollars are just 99 cents over spot per ounce. To order our specials or any of the many other options we have available, call us at 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. We're available after hours and on weekends, and we look forward to speaking with you.
Welcome back to Liberty and Finance. We're delighted to have this returning guest, Michael Rectenwald, formerly a presidential candidate from for President of the United States through the Libertarian Party, also the founder of michaelrectenwald.com and AZAPAC, AZA-PAC.com. Joins us today is Tuesday, January 20th, 2026. Michael, thank you for coming back on Liberty and Finance.
It's great to be here, Dunnigan. Thanks for having me.
There have been two rather, well, I think maybe perhaps underreported stories in the news recently that our staff and my son Elijah flagged as ones that we should look into. And with your help, we'd like to examine the principles at play here that are happening right in front of our eyes of undermining the freedom of speech of the American people. Two things happened just in the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, we had Tucker Carlson on the 9th of January interviewing James Fishbach, and talking about laws that were passed in the state of Florida or proposed to be passed that would outlaw freedom of speech when criticizing foreign governments. But the only foreign government mentioned in that law happens to be Israel. But what is our understanding of the principles that are that are threatened here of freedom of speech of the people if we cannot criticize foreign governments?
Well, what they're doing is conflating criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism. And this is exactly what Israel wants. And, it's a conflation that doesn't serve, I don't think it serves Israel. I certainly don't think it serves the Jewish diaspora, because it puts all the people who are Jewish, basically in the same camp as Israel. And it leaves people's, this is a direct infringement on our First Amendment rights. We're looking at speech being prohibited when it pertains to Israel under the false construction that is likewise anti-Semitism, which is ridiculous, because there are many American Jews who do not support Israel, and even if they did, it doesn't matter. To criticize a foreign nation is not anti-Semitic. I mean, that's just ridiculous. If we criticize China, nobody's going to call you anti-Chino something or other. But if you criticize Israel, somehow this is anti-Semitism and it's being covered by law. You know that over 37 states in the United States have adopted the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism and turned it into, in many cases, statutory law. And in that IHRA definition, it says that effectively any criticism of Israel is anti-Semitism. I mean, and that's a working definition, as they call it. So that working definition can change. So that means that these states have adopted a set of criteria for anti-Semitism, which will infringe our rights. And 37 states have adopted this. This is beyond belief. So Florida is one of them, and DeSantis went over to Israel to sign legislation that would make so-called anti-Semitic speech illegal. That sets up the prospect of what just happened in Florida, and I know you want to talk about that, where you have the police in Miami Beach coming to a citizen's home, happens to be a veteran as well, and questioning them about speech which criticized the mayor's support of slaughtering the Palestinians. This is all the person said. They said this mayor has promoted killing all the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, and that's it. That's basically what they said. And the mayor apparently sent the police to this person's house because they say this could incite violence. It's absurd. I mean, if the speech of the mayor doesn't incite violence, then, I mean, I don't know what does. If you're condoning slaughter of innocent people, then that seems to me to be inciting violence. But this person was merely commenting on the mayor's speech, and then the police show up at their door, questioning them about a post that was, in my opinion, totally innocuous. It certainly doesn't incite anybody to violence. And so this is very chilling, and that's where we are right now. There's been several cases like this where the police have shown up in the cases of criticisms of Israel, and they have tried to question the people at stake here, the posters, the people that posted on social media. In both cases, in the case of this Miami woman, and another one was in Texas, where they turned them away because you don't have to speak to them unless they have a warrant. Don't talk to them at all, because this is really an infringement of our rights, and the government's somehow finding it in its interest to, basically suppress speech about a foreign nation. This is unreal. I mean, you can criticize America all day long and nothing happens, but if you do this, then the police show up at your door, apparently. This is very scary.
For years on our channel, we've had guests warning us that who we look at as the top of the representative government of our republic is really only middle management, and that there's a whole layer above that tells them how things are going to be run in Washington. Some have referred to that as the deep state. Some of that are referred to as other masters at the top of the puppet masters, but that who the front people are that we're placed, that we get to vote on, are just following the bidding of those at higher positions that are shadowy, and we don't get to see those. This has been talked about for years, but one of the things that's the most concerning to ordinary Americans about this is that how does that disempower ordinary people, disenfranchise us as actors in our own life? If this is supposed to be we the people, our country, and these are elected representatives of our representative republic, then if they're actually not doing the bidding of the people, but they're doing the bidding of someone else, that is a fundamental and potentially treasonous departure from their duty to the people themselves. Can you talk to us about what is the fundamental principle, in addition to just the freedom of speech that's at play? We need to talk more about the freedom of speech, but who's actually running, who's actually calling the shots, who's actually got the collar around those who appear to be in positions of authority in our government?
Well, I hate to say this, but it happens to be true. It's the combined 500 to 600 Israeli lobby groups who are pretending to be charitable organizations that take donations under charitable donation schemes, money that they funnel to, basically bribe the political class into obedience. And that also funnels money into propaganda on behalf of Israel. So they're taking advantage of our tax-exempt, organizational setup in the United States with the IRS, with 501Cs and 3s and 4s, and they're using that to, to basically buy politicians and funnel propaganda into the media, and to as we see now, control our speech. And they have managed to get these this IHRA definition accepted by 37 states in the union, which is a real serious concern, because it's suggesting that this is a particular foreign entity that has this kind of control over it's starting to now affect our domestic policy very seriously. Obviously, we can see the effects on our foreign policy, but now it's domestic policy also. And in this case, we're talking about infringements against our very First Amendment. And this is the bedrock of American constitutionalism and American civic life. And that's at risk.
Well, there's two parts that I'm concerned about here, if we could address them separately, about infringement on freedom of speech. First of all, speech is inherently linked to thought. When you restrict people's speech and the ability to share ideas through speech, you restrict people's ability of thought and the ability to share thoughts. That's extremely fundamental to being a free person and actually being a whole person. Secondarily, there's an old adage that if you want to find out who's really running, who's in control, find out whom it is you cannot criticize. So these are two separate things. One is who's actually running our country in a sense of calling the shots, and how is our ability to think and to share thoughts and speak freely being restricted. So if you could maybe address those separately.
Yeah, I mean, look, you saw recently Pam Bondi, the head of the DOJ, speaking before the Israeli-American association or group or coalition or something. I forget the exact acronym, but in any case, she promises and has been delivering on this, on the desiderata of the big Israeli donors like Miriam Adelson, and she speaks with Miriam Adelson at this meeting. And they boast about the fact that they're clamping down on so-called anti-Semitism. But this is, and it's affecting mostly college students. So the IAHRA definition, which has really been absorbed into the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, is actually applicable now to college students, such that if you criticize Israel, you're deemed an anti-Semite, and you could actually be thrown out of school. This is serious business, and that happened to a Guy Christensen. Whatever you think about his views is not the issue, really. He's a very fierce critic of Israel. They threw him out of, I think it was Ohio State, and he lost his matriculation, and he sued. And recently just won a case, at least at one level, that they said that it was an infringement of his First Amendment rights. So that's where we are.
You had alluded a moment ago about a second case that had just come up in the past week in Miami, Miami Beach, that was reported in the Miami Herald. We'll put a link to that in the description of this video, about a police being called in to investigate and come to the home of and try to get individuals to confess to having been the authors of social media posts critical of the mayor of Miami Beach. Can you talk to us about why this is also of concern? I mean, let's just put this in the backdrop of where we've come to the past 5 years of forced lockdowns and deplatforming and all kinds of controls on our speech. And some people thought, okay, we're through that. We've learned our lesson. We're not going to go there again. What's going on in Miami Beach, and why is that of concern to everyone nationally?
Well, the mayor is a very strong advocate of Israel. He's Jewish. Whether he was Jewish or not, it doesn't matter, except for him, I guess. But he has been a very strong proponent of Israel's actions, and this person merely criticized that, saying that this guy has called for the death of all the Palestinians. And just for posting that idea on the internet, in fact, the police said that's the key point in the post that was questioned. That's problematic for the police. They said it could incite violence. I mean, there's nothing in that says do this, do that, or anything to that effect at all. There's no, crying. There's no crying fire in a crowded theater. There's none of that. There's no calling for anybody to be attacked. There's none of that. And yet they nevertheless showed up at this person's door. And this has a major chilling effect because, if you're in the state of Florida and you have an impetus to make a criticism of something that the mayor may not like, the police could very well show up at your door, as we see. So this chills speech in advance that is also an infringement. When the government is chilling speech, that has been ruled by the Supreme Court to be infringement of the First Amendment. So they're already infringing the First Amendment.
Earlier, we were talking about, and you formed a PAC, Political Action Committee, to address this problem. How are you addressing the two sides of this coin? Because when you and I were talking about prior to the interview, we talked about it's not about any heartburn with a particular or animosity towards a particular people of a certain descent or people of a certain country. It's about the principle of undermining and eroding away the freedom of the American people, their ability to have their will carried out by their elected representatives, and their ability to speak freely.
Yeah, I mean, what our principle is that the United States government should be serving American citizens. And when the political class is purchased, in effect, by foreign interests through their lobby groups, AZAPAC being the number one, but not the only by any stretch, then you're talking about effectively these people or these representatives are no longer representing you. They're representing this country's interests, and this all leads to the problems we're seeing about speech. So it affects not only the foreign policy in sending arms aid and endless supply of military hardware to Israel or Ukraine or wherever. That's the foreign element, which is, I think, robbing us against our will to support foreign endeavors. But secondly, on the domestic front, this is where it gets really serious in terms of infringement of our rights, because you got politicians bought by Israel through their lobbies, these proxies for Israel, and then they're now starting to act at Israel's behest in terms of our own freedoms. So passing laws and adopting the IHRA definition is utterly ridiculous. I mean, look at that definition. It says that anytime you say that you don't think Israel should exist, or that is a racist endeavor or something like that, that is now considered anti-Semitism. And according to these states who now have absorbed this into law, that's a crime. That's unbelievable. I don't care what your view is on Israel or any other country. It should be illegal to say what it is. I mean, this obviously fundamental rights. So, it's a very bad precedent and a very foreboding prospect.
Yeah, the famous quote from our founding fathers of I disagree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it, is recognizing the underlying bedrock principle of protecting the freedom of speech in order to protect the freedom of thought, in order to protect human freedom at all. There's plenty of examples in recent years where we've had our empathy weaponized against us when we try to stand up for legitimate rights as Americans or as free people, saying that it's racist to have a border on your country, that it's wrong that you're somehow hurting others. You're a granny killer or whatever if you don't take an experimental medical procedure or restrict where you travel and that sort of thing. How is it that we're so susceptible, and other examples like this that are worthy of reminding us of where our good nature, our very good intentions and goodwill towards our fellow people and their own beloved countries, just as we love ours, or our basic fundamental human rights to exist and to have boundaries around our body, be able to speak our mind, be able to protect our country, are being weaponized against us, and we're being called, haters just for standing up for the truth and natural rights.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the way it's happened is you had some serious legislation that got passed, Citizens United in 2010, which was designed to protect free speech. And it was argued by a law firm. I forget the name of it right now off the top of my head, but this law firm was fighting on the behest at the behest of these corporate interests and PACs, namely PACs in particular, super PACs, and they got it passed such that use of your money is expression. However you want, if you want to spend your money, as long as it's not on something illicit or illegal, then this is part of your First Amendment right. So in a way, that principled stand in Citizens United has been exploited to allow unlimited expenditures, and that has basically suborned our Congress by virtue of making them, basically held hostage to corporate and foreign interests. Now, interestingly, the law firm that defended that case or fought that case and won it, Citizens United, they also work to enforce anti-BDS legislation, which is also an infringement of our First Amendment rights, because BDS is simply saying, I don't want to spend my money somewhere, and it's my business who I spend my money on. And so no matter what you think of Israel, Zionism, or anything like that, you have to see that there's a contradiction between allowing free speech with Citizens United and prohibiting it through anti-BDS legislation, and the same law firm is fighting on both sides. It's unbelievable. So, you could say it was some legislation, but I think the capture of the political class is really what is at stake here. That's the problem. That's why I started AZAPAC, to get this capture, to try to reverse this capture.
It's been claimed, we had the farewell address from President Dwight Eisenhower saying, beware the unwarranted influence of the military-industrial complex. Recently, we've had the medical industrial complex, we've had the agricultural industrial complex, we have the media, especially social media industrial complex. You could keep on going. The capture of our regulatory agencies by those whom they're supposed to be regulating, this seems to be another example of even perhaps at an over-encompassing layer of capture of the entire government. Then yet we as a people trying to be responsible, trying to be good citizens, trying to be patriotic, feel responsible to obey this government. And yet if this government isn't even representing us anymore, then we really are behind enemy lines. Any further conclusions that you make and recommendations that you have on how people can start to reclaim, first of all, their clarity of thought around this, and then second of all, action steps that people can take to reassert our freedom of speech and our actions to be the citizens of a free country?
Yeah, I think that what I'm doing with AZAPAC is simply this. We are trying to get representatives in office to replace people who have been purchased by foreign entities. And in this case, we think that, and it's pretty demonstrable, that AIPAC has a 98% success rate when they put money behind a candidate. So they're purchasing our political class, who then vote in favor of this foreign entity, no matter what they do, and inclusive of infringing our rights at home. That's pretty serious. And so that's why we say we need to replace this political class with another set of people who are free from this foreign influence and any other influence for that matter. We don't want foreign aid, military aid sent to any place at all. And we don't want foreign actors engaging in subterfuge and subversion of our government such that it's now being run effectively by the donor class. That can't go on.
Michael, if people want to find out more about your recently formed AZA-PAC, where should they get involved?
Just go to aza-pac.com, or you can just search by Google AZAPAC, AZAPAC. It'll come right up as the first item. So far, Google has not suppressed us, which is surprising.
We'll put links to the two stories that we talked about here, both the the interview with Tucker Carlson of Republican gubernatorial candidate in Florida, James Fishbach, and his comments about stifling of free speech in Florida, as well as the story from the Miami Herald about the stifling of, or the chilling of free speech in Miami Beach. And thank you very much for being here with us again on Liberty and Finance.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
This is Kaiser Johnson with Liberty and Finance, and these are the Miles Franklin weekly specials for January 19th through January 26th, 2026, while supplies last. First this week, 1 10th-ounce gold maples are just $65 over melt per coin. Next, 1-ounce silver maple leafs 2026 are $7.99 over spot per ounce. And finally, 90% US half dollars are just 99 cents over spot per ounce. To order our specials or any of the many other options we have available, call us at 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. We're available after hours and on weekends, and we look forward to speaking with you.